Namaste, Namaste Kaushikda.
Namaskar.
Your video, okay, yeah. So Namaste everyone. Welcome to another edition of Navimash podcast. So today, for the first time in our show, we have with us uh, Professor Kausik Gangopadhyay. He is on our show for the first time. So a very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, and I appreciate your calling me in the show. And of course, I greet all your viewers with respect.
Yeah, thank you. Like we had already like discussed on the Twitter on X regarding your thought-provoking review of the book. The book. Let me just show the which book we will review today. So give me 10 seconds. I'll just get the page ready. So yeah, so the page is ready. Let me just load it. So we are today going to talk about the review of this specific book by Mr. Arun Shourie. Let me know, audience, and also Koshi sir, you can see the page.
Yes,
It
I
would
can see the
be,
page.
yeah. So we are going to discuss the review that Kaushik sir wrote in on X regarding this specific book, the new icon, Savarkar and the Facts. So he wrote a detailed review of the book. So I reached out to Kaushik that I think those points and conclusion that he has drawn on the X, it might be a good idea to actually discuss them so that the people on the left, right, or the center can get a better perspective where you come from on those conclusions. So on that part, I have a small 2 minute monologue which I like to share because while doing the research for this podcast, okay, so I went through few of the books. So one of the books, let me just yeah. So one of the books I went through was this book called Veer Savarkar, The Man Who Could Have Prevented Partition. Okay, and I also went through this specific book called Being Hindu. Okay, by Dr. Shomode. So these two books are actually quite interesting and also related to the topics which are actually covered in the chapters which are there in the book, The New Icon. Okay, so on that, I will actually add a few comments when Kaushik makes those comments. But now I'll give the floor to Kaushik sir. So sir, please go ahead and I will share your tweet that you have wrote on Twitter, and then you can go ahead and give your presentation.
Sure. So, I mean, do you want me to talk about the book in my own way, or you have some questions answer
No, no,
format?
no. So what we have is like it's going to be a free-flowing discussion that we'll have. So we don't
Okay.
have any specific points. So discussion is going to be based on your review that you wrote. So that will be the
Okay.
primary focal point. And questions
Okay.
we will take from audience at the end of our discussion.
Sure. So, shall I start?
Yes, please
Shall
go
I
ahead, sir.
begin?
Yes, please.
So first and foremost, once again, thank you, Navavimar's channel for calling me. So I am actually, I sort of, Shourie was my icon. When he talked about the new icon, Shourie was my icon. I read almost all his books, and I sort of agree that he try to make a compelling case for the point he's trying to make. Now there's a one problem here. Problem is when we talk about an author on his book, sometimes what happens that we try to equate them. Now, as a person, I have absolutely nothing against Shourie. Let me be very, very open about it. I mean, his personal character is inimitable. I don't see myself compared to him as the same sort of having same sort of sufferings they have undergone in his personal life, yet he kept on going. I have not see, I don't see myself. So I have utmost respect for him. However, when you talk about a book, it has to be judged from my own perspective, from a very scientific lens, and how it is going to help us progress, how make us go forward. So that is how I looked into this book, without any personal way of looking at it. So there are because I'm saying it because I see many people saying, well, Saudi might be wrong, but he was treated badly, this kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I might fully support your point of view and all those sort of things, but that's not the point. I mean, that's a different discussion altogether. That is not today's discussion, so I'll not talk about it. But I have a lot of respect for Shourie and all that. I want to start with it. Now coming to the book. I have read also many books on Savarkarji. The first book I read was actually a Bengali book on Savarkar. That was like around 8 years ago. It is written by a person called Sukumar Nandi on Savarkarji. And then I also read a lot of the writings he wrote over time, over many decades. On English, I read the first authoritative biography of Savarkar is Dhananjay Keer. Dhananjay Keer's biography was published after his death, but maybe in 70s or so. So basically, there was a big statue was unveiled in Mumbai on Savarkar, and on that occasion, our Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw, he was present, and Sam Manekshaw said that, Sam Manekshaw was known for his caustic remarks. So he said that, well, you might ask me, and there was a tiff between Manekshaw and Savarkar in their life in Savarkar time. And then basically Manekshaw said that, well, you might say that, if you were alive, you would have chastised me, because of course the battle was won in 71 or so, while Savarkarji was died in 66, I think, 1966. So basically Savarkarji did not see that India thrashed Pakistan and broke it into, bifurcated it, that he did not see it. So he said that you would have been glad, but you would also ask me, that is Manekshaw is saying, I'm quoting Manekshaw, that why did it take you 13 days and why did you take only 93,000 prisoners? So I would say that this is not only my fault, this is also your fault. Had you been my PM, my Prime Minister, I would have defeated Pakistan in 5 days and I would have taken 3 lakh prisoners. So this is what the Manekshaw is saying. So this is just to bring to a point that Savarkarji demands have a lot of respect. And why the left liberal doesn't like it? Because when you talk about any other person, the left liberal has a lens of rationality, and he's just simply sort of misses them. So they sort of them, Gandhiji, he was so irrational person. He's not a good guy. If you go to Aurobindo, he's talking about meditation and all these things. He's not an irrational person. But on Savarkarji, they cannot say that, because his point of views are extremely, extremely rational, to the point you cannot deny them. So the only way left liberal wants, and this is the problem with the left liberal, they don't go for the ideas, they go for the person. So they actually attack Savarkar's personality. He's a bad person, he's this and that, he wrote these apology letters to British and all those sort of things. So this is the context I'm trying to give you. Now in this time, Sauriji wrote this book. The first of all, on Savarkarji, I did not find any new information that left liberal has not presented me. I did not finish it. That time when this Savarkar statue was unveiled in the 1970s, that time basically this book was also published in this 1970s, Dhananjay Keer's book. And then I read another book, this time by Bikram Sampath. It was a very well-made sort of book. I also read many articles here and there on Savarkarji by both sides, left liberals and of course right-wingers, so-called right-wingers. Now, firstly, I did not find anything that you would not find as a point outside this book. I mean, whatever points Sauriji is bringing to the table, they are present all together. He presented in a different manner and all, but not beyond that. So we might say that this is this and that, incomplete and that. We can take it away if the question comes first, but let me see the main thing that I wrote in the tweet. So the way I see it, suppose you agree with the Arun Shourie's point of view on Savarkar, then what else you must agree upon? And are those the things that we must agree upon? That's what I'm trying to ask. And if you really are comfortable with agreeing upon them, do agree upon them. So my tweet is not saying that, I mean, if you look at the first few lines, these 5 points, well, someone from a different opinion might say, yeah, I think this is not, this is sort of true. And of course, Savarkarji is, Shouriji is a hero for me because he wrote on Savarkarji is like this. I have no problem with that. But I personally don't subscribe to all the 5 of these views. But that's why I wrote it down. But that's what it is. So the first thing he said is the entire book. Basically, he shows that Savarkar is talking about a Hindutva, right? And what is Hindutva? Hindutva is sort of a socio-political policy, so that our civilizational thing sort of continues, and it sometimes demands some break from the past in some sense of the term. May not be a radical break, but some break, because that's the new. It's a new time, and you have to sort of reinvent yourself. Now, for Shourie, it is a problem. He is saying that, well, you are taking a break, so you are breaking away from Hinduism, and that's a bad thing. Now, here is something very important, and he sort of the definition he gave. What is Hinduism? He said, I quoted it there. I think just can you go up a little bit? Here I quoted it. Inner directed search. He's saying Hinduism is inner directed search, and Hindutva is basically, you have to take over power and all the other things. Now, this definition is a very shallow definition, I would say. I mean, it's not expected from Shourie. So, because he's probably better than that, I thought. So, firstly, if you look at this definition, who coined this idea that Hinduism is inner directed search and Hindutva is something else? Now, the idea of Hinduism, I mean, of course, we know the word Hindu is a very ancient word. We all know that it goes back to the Greeks. Ancient Greeks, they were sort of the best Western power, and they conquered Persia. And the people beyond the Indus River, Sindhu Nada, in our own word, Sindhu Nadi, beyond the Sindhu Nadi or Indus River in their tongue, they used to call them India, and from the Arabs from them picked on, and they called them, they cannot say they called them Hinda. Saw and haw sort of very similar sound, so it becomes Hindu. So this idea of Hindu is very well known. But what is not well known is Hinduism as a religion like Christianity. So that is something that is not exactly our definition. That is the definition given by the Christian padris when they came here. They are trying to study the religion of the land, and they sort of said, well, these people have a religion, let's call it Hinduism. So that's how they sort of defined it. Now, this is a very big point. It might take entire podcast away, so I'm not going to dwell much about it. But this is a point. This is tackled by S.N. Bal Gangadhar in his book Hidden in His Blindness. In my own book, Majoritarian Myth, I have in an appendix, I have given a sort of 8,000 word summary. And a modified version of that summary is available in net also, website also. There is a site called Pragyata. In Pragyata, you can search all religions are not the same, and my name. You would find out a summary, a little different, but more or less same form exists. And this is how I sort of try to communicate the ideas. Now, in the same 19th century, when Hinduism was defined by the Christians, padris, our own educated minds, they are sort of devised the word Hindutva. And this happened around in the late 19th century. I mean, this word might be there so there's a medieval word called Hinduani, or Hindu characteristics. From that, basically the word Hindutva came, and this is, I see this word in Bankim Chandra's writings in 1880s. 1880s, Bankim Chandra wrote it. 3 times he has mentioned this word. Different contexts, sometimes philosophical context, sometimes social context, sometimes political context. The word also appears then as a book in Bengali. It is called Hindutva, Hindur Prakito Itihash. Hindutva, the real history or real past of the Hindus, or past of the Hindus. That is basically by Chandranath Basu. Chandranath Basu was also a very good scholar, and he was also friend of Bankim's. And this book actually talks about why Hindus basically have a very different civilizational view than the Western, and it has implications both personal lives and also collective lives. So the point I'm trying to say that Hindutva and Hinduism, one were coined by our colonizers, one by our own people who are trying to fight with the colonizers. Now, whom would you like to believe? I would like to go with my own folk. But Shauriji, what he has done, he went with the colonizer's point of view, which I think is unfortunate. But the entire book is based on that. This is the conclusion of the book, what I wrote, that he says that he will try to save Hinduism from Hindutva, and that is the conclusion of the book. And also, he could have done little more nuanced perspective that some of the Hinduism is not good, some of the Hindutva is bad, it may be good. So he has not done anything like that. He said that Hinduism is all good, Hindutva is all bad. So that's sort of a very unnuanced way he has put it. So that's why I have to say it. And secondly, Shourie, he never called himself a Hindu in some sense. He said that he doesn't believe in any religion. He called that Buddhism is the best religion to him. So I don't consider Buddhism and Hinduism as two religions. I just think there is something, an idea called dharma, which is the righteousness, which is the doing as per your conscience. And Hinduism, Buddhism, these are like words. Like there are people who believe in Rama, Ramdev. Are they different religion than Hinduism? Right? We don't know. Nobody knows. The Christian Padri wanted them to have different religions. We are having different religions. But the point is, if you really believe in that definition, then if you are believe in Buddhism, then you really don't have any agenda to save Hinduism, right? Then you are not a Hindu. Then you should sort of be happy, leave Hindus to Hinduism, and do whatever you want to do, maybe Buddhism or something like that. As a matter of fact, in 2010 or so, Shourie wrote a book, Does He Know a Mother's Heart? So basically, this book is about God, and he is arguing that God, from any religion's point of view, does not understand what a mother's feelings, mother's tender things. That is sort of anti-religion. I don't agree with the book, but the point I'm trying to say that once you sort of say that God does not know anything and understand much, then why you are bothering about saving Hinduism and Hinduism is God, right? So that's the point of view. The second point I said is basically whenever Savarkarji's writings, he said that Hindus has a very soft policy. So the other side, the Islamist side, like Tipu Sultan, Aurangzeb, these people, they were doing an all-out totalitarian war. He wrote mostly in context of Tipu Sultan. So basically, when they come, they not only defeat militarily, but they also sort of convert Hindus forcibly to Islam and all. And they do a lot of atrocities. Now, Savarkarji is saying, but when Hindus militarily win, they don't do it like those things. They don't attack others. They don't do any sort of persecution of others. And that is a good thing. So Shourie is saying, Savarkarji is saying, no, it's not an entirely good thing, because that's how what happens. The part of the population who could have come back to Hinduism, we sort of, because of our own sort of past traditions, we don't take them back. And because we don't take them back, we become weak. And because we do not attack others, we don't do tit-for-tat way, people see ourselves as soft target, and they sort of go on attacking us. And this idea, then Shourie says it's a Hindutva, it's a bad idea, that you are one Hindus to be more aggressive and to sort of that. It's bad idea, it's not a good idea, he's saying. And Savarkarji is promoting it. He wants to Islamize Hinduism. Now, my point is, humble point is, see, nothing is all good and all bad, right? So if the Islamic armies are winning against Hindus, they must have some capability, superior capability. For example, when the Europeans are winning against the Asians, because they have a better organizational skill, better technology, they have a superior capability. And we actually decided to imitate them, right? Now we decided, and then actually it has happened now that Asians are more Europeans now. Our industrialization is much better than Europe in some sense, right? The Chinese, who are sort of the Europeans used to make fun of the Chinese. So these Chinese people, they take opium and they sleep, they don't do anything, they can't do any hard work. Now the Chinese, they are the most hardworking people now of the world. They are running all the industries, right? So we have taken their things and we have beaten them also. So no idea we can really say this is their idea and other idea. So Islam, they have won many parts of the world. Definitely, we may not like all the ideas it has in it, but definitely it has some good things, right? So basically, um, basically that sort of a that sort of helped them win. So we may not want to go totally their way, but doesn't mean that we don't take it at all also. So something in between may be a good approach, right? So but the point is, Shourie is saying that you can't really attack. So he is negating the idea tit for tat. Now there is a very big, this is a very big question in game theory. So yeah, there is a very big discipline called game theory, which is basically talks about different parties, how they sort of behave and all. And there, in an infinite game, which kind of we see, what is the best policy? The best policy is, it is said that it is tit for tat. So there is a video link I have given in that tweet from Veracitum. It's a very big channel. Crores of subscribers are there, more than a crore, I think. It's a very scientific channel and all. You can see the video. It basically is below there. There's a reference, right? And there you can see that link is there, YouTube link. So they are basically, you are mute, so I can't hear you.
Yeah, actually, I have put your tweet on the chat itself.
Right. So those who want, they can actually see that, go to the tweet and go to that link, right? Tit for tat. There's a link, 1 or 2 number.
Yeah,
I don't remember the number. Number is given, but
yeah.
So
So
they
for
are,
the audience, the tweet is put on the chat. So you can click on the link. You will be able to see the chat, see the tweet that is given by Kausik sir, and you can see all the links which he's talking about. Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
yeah. So that is, so basically, if we don't like Savarkar's point of view, we are negating tit for tat. But that is unscientific. It has been proven by many game and other things that tit for tat is sort of what works in real life. I think number 4 is the link on that.
Yeah,
That
here this one.
yeah. So now third point he talked about is basically Tipu Sultan. So basically Tipu Sultan was criticized. No, I think third point was Bal Gangadhar and sorry. So third point is about Savarkar's statements. So Savarkarji wrote many mercy petitions, and that is the only way out of jail. And those mercy petitions were written by Bal Gangadhar Tilak to get out of it. And they were used by anyone. Basically, that time the only way to get out of the jail is basically you file a mercy petition. That's the only way out. I think Sachidananda, what is this? Sanjeev Shanal's forefather was he there. His name is, I think the name is not coming on mind. He's mentioned in his book Revolutionaries. I'm making very forgetful with the names. But so that he's a sort of a leader. He was also sort of used that petition. So the way the petitions were seen by the revolutionaries, that you can't really get away, you cannot get out, and you don't want to sort of rot in jail. There's no fun in that. It is not also very pleasant. That's one thing. But secondly, it is also against the sort of the idea of work. So this is a karma jog, they view it, and this karma jog we want to use maximum proportion use time here, right? So that point of view, it is sort of not a good idea to rot in jail, get out and write anything. Now that is one. And now Savarkarji, so now Shourie, is to his credit, he is not saying that mercy petition itself are wrong. He is saying mercy petition is still okay, sort of thing. Sachindranath Sandal. Yes. Thank you. So now he is not saying that, but he says that these mercy petitions have a very different view of the person, and the other person, actual person, when he goes away, he's a very different. So it's a sort of a dichotomy. It does not serve well. It shows sort of a arrogance and egoism. Actually, to be fair, I don't disagree it completely. Yeah, of course, when we write to our enemy and other things, when we write to our boss, all of us, we write a very different tone, right? And if you go to a social function, we have a very different personality. We are not same persons. Because we know that this is how this world works, right? And these people, they also knew how the world works. But the point is, should we really judge a person based on the language of those petitions? This is a really, really big problem for me. Because the point is, they are all strategic and all. They are deliberately not trying to sort of being truthful. They are trying to sort of hooding the British. The point is, really, can you call someone sort of leaning towards British based on a mercy petition. It is sort of completely bullshit. Because of course, if they were of the British type, British won't sort of put them in a 1,000 miles away in an island and with all the toils and everything, hard work and all, right? They would sort of put them in a much better jail, much better facilities and all, even if it is jail, right? So of course, I don't see any reason that these petitions are sort of bad. Secondly, I mean, to his credit, Shourie says it, but then he brings his this projection of the image very high way. I don't see it a big problem. Second problem is, let's say Savarkar, he was happy when Hitler was winning some point in time in the Second World War. Well, that's what it is, right? I mean, British, we want the great deed of British. If the British is losing, then of course we can win. That's the only way. And if you take that logic seriously, then Subhas Bose is also guilty of the same crime. I mean, much bigger crime. Because Subhas Bose, he not only be happy privately or not, he actually actively worked with Hitler to sort of defeat, right? So but this is like Audrey Trusk's sort of like understanding. This is not a Shourie level understanding. That's what I'm trying to say. Say, of course, yeah, Bose, but of course, Bose has his own reasons. Because to get British out, to force British out of India, this is the only way possible, and that's what they have done. So there is no reason to sort of dispute them or something like that. Right? So the fourth point I say is about Tipu Sultan. Tipu Sultan, Savarkarji wrote many things against him, and then he wrote he's a savage. This word he used, Savarkarji. Now Shourie he writes that, well, Tipu ran a very efficient state apparatus. And British also sort of mourned him. One day holiday or something was declared and something like that. So, I mean, savage is not the right description. But the point is, Savarkar never was not discussing whether Tipu Sultan was efficient or not. The point he was talking about the moral values. And moral values, Tipu Sultan was not good. It has been recently written by Vikram Sampath's work, or it is also there are many works. Actually, in a matter of fact, in Savarkarji, there is a book, 6 Glorious Epochs of Indian History. There it is also mentioned. And of course, Sandeep Balakrishna, I think he has also a book. So it is a sort of settled fact. My only problem with Shourie in this matter is he never mentioned about the Shourie, how Tipu Sultan is from any neutral source. He just evaded the discussion. That in a way looks like the eminent historians he criticized in his book, that they are sort of unbalanced, missing it. I mean, that should not be an occasion. That should not be I mean, if you are like that, then probably you should not write the book. That's what my humble understanding is. Last point, first 2 chapters, Arun Shourie, he actually applauded Savarkar for his rationality. He was against caste. He was for taking, Savarkar has a statement, eat whatever medically fit and clean. So basically he said that beef is not a problem. If it is medically fit and clean. Now, of course, the point is here that Savarkar invokes scientific. Now, there are 2 ways. One is you take Savarkar literally. Whatever Savarkar said, Savarkar must follow. And basically, Arun Shourie sort of mocked a little bit that, Savarkarites, they don't seem to agree with these statements. I mean, that beef should be sort of. So one is, of course, you are not taking it literally. Yeah, that's true. But then there is nobody is saying, I follow Savarkar exclusively. So even the party who is in power now, they have mentioned 4 icons: Ambedkar, Gandhiji, Ambedkar, Savarkar, and Subhas Chandra Bose. These are the 4 icons Narendra Modi mentioned in this 2022. I think this is a Independence Day speech from Lal Killa, right? So these are the 4 icons. And one of the icons is talking about this, but other 3 are not talking about it. So it's not an exclusive sort of thing. So I don't see really a big fuss about it. Second point is, Savarkar told us to follow scientific understanding, not exactly going by any sort of tradition all the time. You have to sort of adapt to the new world. Now, if you take this forward, science is not a sort of a static thing. It is dynamic. It is moving forward. Now, new scientific understanding has emerged. And what does this new scientific understanding show? they show that red meat causes half of the greenhouse gas emission. Because of red meat, we do a lot of beef cultivation, beef, and that is sort of harming us in a very, very big way. So there are two uh, American ecologists, not environmental activists. I think Keith and what's their name? Anderson. I forgot the exact name. The name of the documentary is Cowspiracy. It was in
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
2014.
yeah.
It was released by Leonardo DiCaprio, this Hollywood star. So basically, they have shown how important it is to avoid meat for have a survive sustainable human civilization. So from that point of view, we should never encourage anyone to take beef. And in Europe, many places there's a sort of a active um, resistance against red meat. In Oxford, the student union banned red meat from the campus eating places, campus eateries. And there are a few other universities it is happening. So a part of the West, they are understanding it. It is difficult for them because in the West, beef is part and parcel of one's meal. So to tell people that you stop a meal tomorrow is not easy. In India, for most of the people, it is not a meal at all. So why sort of you would like to encourage it? And for the other part also, it is not as much eaten maybe as in Europe. So we can try to move away from it. That's what the ecologically sensible way to move forward. Even if you don't want to go into any ideological discussion and all, right? That's what it is. So this
Kaushik
is
sir,
what,
just
yes.
yeah, Kaushik sir,
Hmm.
just one point that
Hmm.
actually the audience, one of the audience member,
Hmm. Hmm.
actually she's
Ambedkar
also
Suman, huh? Hmm.
yeah. So she's also like reads book on Hindu books. So she mentions that okay, I disagree with the Savarkarji's stand, okay, or like Arun stand on meat consumption that it should not be. So he says consume it,
Hmm.
and the other part is that when you mention that beef consumption as a promotion might not be very good for the environmental health and
Hmm.
its sustainability and also for the health of the human beings. But on the same stand, I think you and also the others would also agree that we
Hmm.
are not banning people from consuming meat. Okay, they
No, we are
can
not. No, but we, in a
exactly.
way, because
Hmm,
cow slaughter is banned.
hmm, hmm,
Many states, not all states.
hmm,
In
hmm,
Kerala,
hmm,
where it is live here, it's not banned, but many
hmm,
states is banned,
hmm.
and that sort of de facto is a problem, right? You can see. I mean,
Yeah, but one question is
and
see
the meat mostly
we
in India that passes on beef is
hmm,
mostly
hmm.
buffalo meat.
Exactly. And
Hmm.
one thing very important that we actually missed the point is that meat is of various kinds: chicken, goat, and few other animals. You have pork. So meat is of various kinds. So when we say cow slaughter is banned, so you have
Hmm.
only one source of protein, which is you can't consume, but you can consume from seafood to goat to chicken to pork. So all things are available. So nobody,
Hmm.
the state is not telling you to not to consume protein. You just, as a religious significant animal, or the
Hmm.
majority of people who believe as the mother, okay,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
you don't cull him. That is a kind of respect that we
No, that
give
is
to
exactly.
even to
Hmm.
our, but we are not saying that okay, you
Hmm.
don't do anything. You can
Hmm.
consume every protein excluding the one
No, no, but the point
cow one.
he's trying to say, the point
Hmm,
Shourie is trying to say, see,
hmm,
look, Savarkar was a very dreaded atheist. And one thing I sort of also wrote in that tweet that I sort of agree with Shourie. Savarkar was sort of a very, someone with positive sense will call man of very extreme self-pride, and someone will say very egoist person, negative sense. But he was a very adamant. He was the president of Hindu Mahasabha and he was to actively give lectures on atheism. You see my point? Many people told him this, don't do that, but he never listened to them. So Savarkar never said that cow is not our mother. He said like that. And that is the point that Saudi is trying to harp on, and that's what it is. Now, policy and other stuff, that's much more nuanced. I don't even want to comment on that. So that is, I don't want to say, either way, sort of thing, but it is much more nuanced and probably much more dynamic in nature. But what I'm talking about, the Shourie's sort of review also. Yeah. I think one question came on Shourie's stand with Ambedkarji, right? Worshipping false gods.
Yes, yes. Actually, I have actually put the questions in a separate bucket. So we will
Ah,
just talk a few points, and
please, please.
then we will
Ah,
take the question. So actually,
ah,
I have few things which I actually done some
hmm.
research. Okay.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
like I think
I'll
these
not say
points are not.
anything. Whatever you will ask, I'll just talk on that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So
Hmm.
actually, this is a book that I was actually. Let me just unpin this, and we can do this here. So yeah, so I have this book, Veer Savarkar. Okay, so
Hmm.
here in this specific book, there is a chapter called, which actually I was a bit intrigued. So
Hmm.
here mentions Veer Savarkar, the man who could have say prevented partition,
Hmm.
uncovers Savarkar, the thinker, the father of India's national security, who has shown the best possible pathway towards one nation that rises above religious, caste, and regional feelings. It also proves the falsity of charges leveled against him from time to time and exposes the motives behind them. It reveals for the first time the manner in which Narendra Modi led government has implemented Savarkar's national security and diplomatic vision. So like I think these facets are actually not well discussed. So actually in this book a chapter is there where it mentions, I'll just read just just a few lines. A revolutionary strategy for independence. There he mentions that Savarkar was a great believer in Shadguna Niti, the Shadguna Niti, or six-fold diplomatic policy, which has been invoked since the time of Mahabharata and Kautilya to tackle enemy. It is listed. So, see, when we talk about Savarkar as a kind of, I think one of from the perspective of nationalist, I think Savarkar is one of the person who's written a lot. The left people have wrote, the right people have wrote it. So I want your comments on this facet of Savarkar, where he talks about national security. Like, do you have any insights on that?
Yes. So actually, Savarkar already saved India. I will tell you how. Now, if you look at the Savarkar, he was always about. Yes, yes, I see the book. Okay. I have not read the book, by the way, but
No,
I'm
no, no.
giving
Actually,
my uh,
yeah, there was a
uh,
request from the audience to just show the
audience.
cover, so I gave it.
Right. So basically, Savarkarji was mm, of the opinion that we should always get power, and there is no fun in being a victim. So in the Port Blair cellular prison, there are a lot of the time there is a torture on the prisoners. And but Savarkarji never advised them to go for fasting or hunger strike. He said, "Who is going to look at you in the cellular jail in Port Blair? Nobody is going to hear you." And these people don't have very really morally they don't care about you, right? In a way. So his point of view is opposite to Gandhiji. Gandhiji would have said, "No, die protesting." That's what Gandhiji said, right? I mean, no, women they should die, but not sort of being raped and that sort of a thing. They can't do anything. But the point is, and he also advised the Jews, right? They should sort of go to the Hitler and the gas chamber, peacefully. That's doing ahimsa, hojo. But Gandhi, Savarkarji was not of this opinion. His opinion is you have to get power and get power. Whatever tactics is right, that is good. So this is what the Swami Vivekananda said, that we should have we should worship the Shakti, the power, and he also said that like let next 50 years the only deity for us should be Bharat Mata. So Savarkarji was sort of the similar opinion, very similar opinion. And then what happened? Then what happened in the cellular jail, for example? So when this all the time, like he did the mercy petitions come out of it and then do all these things. Now he was already looking for opportunity so that he can do something, and that opportunity happened. So he has his own network, right, Savarkarji. Now one of his very good friend was Rasbihari Bose. Rasbihari Bose was the leader of the North India's entire group of revolutionaries in the First World War. and these revolutionaries really planned big. One of the wings, like Bhagajotin and all, they tried to secure arms from Germany with a ship, but the ship was caught, and then basically this port actually was killed, right, in a fight in Bulibalam, in the river Bulibalam. And then another wing started to go to the Sikh soldiers, and there's a Gadar party which actually came in a shape, I think Komagata Maru or something in a name,
Yes,
and
yes,
they
yes.
actually tried to, from Canada, I think, and they try
Yeah,
to
Canada.
activate that, right? And different
Correct.
different also army places. And there's so all these they tried, and everything sort of failed. But and Raspberry was emigrated out to Japan. And Japan, Raspberry Bose was his good friend, so he sort of did a network. And Savarkarji became a president of Hindu Mahasabha in 1937, when he got the right after 27 years or 26, 27 years to join the politics. Then he sort of started it, and Dasbiari started the Japanese wing of Hindu Mahasabha. And this is noted by one professor, Professor Saswati Sarkar, in Ivy League University. She is there. She wrote an article, series of articles. One of the articles mentioned that. Now, and they are a very close contractor. Now, the moment the Second World War started, Savarkarji realized the British now needs men. And that time the composition of the Indian army was most of like 60, more than 60, 70, 60% or so, at least more than half, I don't know the exact number, was Muslims, and the rest were Hindus. So although the population Hindus are majority, but army it was opposite. The reason was very simple. After Sipai mutiny, or whatever you call it, 1857's War of Independence, the British did not take many people in the army, like the Hindus, like the Bengalis, the Marathas, and they sort of only took the Sikhs and only Gorkhas. On the other hand, from the Muslims, they actually accepted much more wider way. So this is why this was the composition. Now, Savarkarji exhorted Indians to join the British army. He said that if you join there, then and only then you will expertise in working with the arms, right? You have gained the sort of domain expertise, and this will come very handy. And because they did that, the composition of the Indian army changed dramatically over the course of Second World War. When actually war ended, it was Hindu majority, like 60-70%, I think, because he exhorted Maratha youths and other people to join it. Right? This is how it happened. And after we know, after India and this India and Pakistan was created, 14th August, 15th August, there was a war that broke out in Kashmir, and basically Pakistani army was coming, right, on the, they were disguised as some I think tribals or so, but they're coming. Now suppose Savarkarji did not happen, what would have happened? Then basically Indian army would be very small, Pakistani would be much more bigger, and they would have definitely taken away Pakistan, Kashmir, and they would have taken probably other things also, because given their power, right? That's how it happened. So you see how it sort of he already saved India to an extent. And one of the messages in 1944 from the Indian National Army, Azad Hind Fauj radio, actually Savarkarji's Subhas Bose himself put a tribute to Savarkarji. And basically he said that when other people were sort of saying don't cooperate with the British, he actually gave the practical advice, and this is why Azad Hind Fauj could be built based on those sort of soldiers. This is what the idea was. Now, so
Yeah.
Shourie has a little different point of view. If you have a question, I will address it.
No. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Now, what happened that there is a meeting between Subhas Bose and Savarkar, I think 39 or 40. And in that meeting, so on the Shourie's recollection, there's a book called Tejasvi Tare, where basically Savarkar's recollection that he had advised Subhas Bose to go immigrate out of India and go out abroad and find the army. Now, Subhas did not write anything publicly, but what is sort of true that he got out of that, and then he went to Japan, and he took over the Indian National Army that Rasbihari Bose has built. Now the point is, who has coordinated between Rasbihari and Subhas Bose so that they could simultaneously do two missions that eventually end up together, right? So Subhas Bose has no contact with Rasbihari Bose. They are not family members. They did not know each other also. It is only Savarkar who knew both of them in a way. And of course, there is a lot of writings on Rasbihari and all. But Shourie ji never actually went into inside it. He never mentioned even them. He sort of dismissed them because Subhas Bose publicly did not say anything about it. So that's what it is.
Yes. Okay. So I have one more point to be noted because actually I went through a lot of other reviews as well of this book. Okay, including yours. So one point which Arun Shourie has mentioned, and you have actually mentioned it. Let me actually put the review again. Okay. So that it's visible to everybody. That's actually my observation regarding his Hindutva claim. Okay. So saving Hinduism from Hindutva is what India needs most. So, and you have given a very good understanding and a critique of this. I have another point which actually I wanted to highlight it. So I am reading from the book. Okay. Let me put myself here. Okay, I have to remove this. Yeah. So I'm going to read from this book called Being Hindu by Dr. Shomode, and here he has mentioned one thing which actually I wanted to point out. The political practice informing or organizing a state is culturally colored or formulated. State, in this sense, it is argued, are culture power formations. That is, they use culture understood as a symbolic system or realm of signifiers to organize governmentality or lead cogency to their power enforcing strategies. Simply put, states use culture as a means to achieve cohesion and broadcast their authority in the societies they oversee. This alliance of state and culture occurs because both are frameworks to regulate human conduct or behavior today. It typically takes the form of linguistic nation states. So when Arun Shourie mentions that okay, let me now give you. So when Arun Shourie mentions that okay, we have to separate Hinduism and Hindutva, isn't he like saying something which is a kind of age-old tradition where the American state is Christian state, the Japanese state has its own culture-driven politics. So why Bharat or India should not have Hindutva and Hinduism as a cohesive state policy where each are complementing each other politically and culturally and as a governance structure?
So the best way to understand Shourie never mentioned resolve this thing what Shomo wrote, but what Shourie to understand Shourie's point of view in this book, the new icon, it is essentially like Gandhiji's point of view. So the point of view is like you don't do anything. Whatever is going on, that will go on with the belief that that will sort of destined to go on. So that's sort of an understanding. It does not have a sort of a man-made way of looking at things. The way you are thinking is like I would say like a secular way of doing things. Don't believe in any theory. Just think about your brain and do it. Not the way secular you use in this our country as secular, but secular as a sort of a non-religious or not God-driven sort of sense, right? So that's what he has not never done it. So that's what I was trying to tell you. This criticism is quite valid from a left liberal. For a left liberal, there is no culture. I mean, all cultures are sort of same. Culture has no sort of authenticity. So cultures don't need it, and and ethics has to be only liberal ethics. All other ethics is wrong. That is not true from a conservative point of view. Conservatives think that cultures are sort of different. The point of view you mentioned and Shomo also mentioned. Basically, America has America is based on Judeo-Christian culture. And it is written also, right, in that books.
Yes.
And India, similarly, it is not. India is sort of a Hindu culture, and then that's sort of the way to make the nation happen. That is the conservative point of view. And ethics of all the different nations are not same. They are very, they are, I mean, there might be some ethics are same, but there's a lot of difference between them also. So basically, you have to be sort of respectful about different nations and their boundaries. And but so that's why the criticisms against Savarkarji are quite valid if you are a left liberal, because from that point of view, all the 5 points I mentioned, they would probably not agree with me. They will say all 5 of them they are on the other side, and they also don't have a acknowledgement of that. But Shouriji never said like in this tone before. That is why sort of I think that's why the book is sort of being a hit, in the sense that it's in the top sellers in Amazon, right?
Yes. So my points are all done. Okay. If you have anything else that you want to highlight with regard to the book or to the review, you can go ahead. Or
I
after
think
that,
I'll take
actually,
questions. Unless there's a question, I don't want to add much.
okay,
Um,
fine. So actually, we'll take the question. So we'll take the question one by one. So the first question, I'll take this. This is from Quantum Politics. So he's asking, as Hindu, if we want to ban beef, we have to assert and say, hey, we want beef banned because it does hurt our sentiment. No argument needed, period. Arguments many times show we are weak. So he's mentioned that, okay, if you're going to request, do not consume this specific kind of meat, then the person who is requesting is perceived as a weak person. So
it is not completely untrue. Many,
hmm,
many times we see the when there's a bully comes, we sort of don't argue, don't do whatever what the bully wants, we want to give it to him, right? And when someone is trying to logically show you, there will be 100 reasonings against that argument. What he said is not completely untrue. I mean, a lot of time. But at the other end also, that is true in the short run. But in the long run, you require a lot of rationality and logic for a civilization to survive. You might be a bully, but when you fall, I mean, the bullies are, this world is not same, it's a dynamic world. Even if you're a bully, you might fall one fine day, right? And then the entire thing might go upside down. So one, I mean, I'll just give you one example. In the 1980s, I grew up in West Bengal, and that time speaking a syllable against communism, the idea of communism was sort of banned in a way in a public place. You can say, well, these people are not real communists at the worst case, but you can't say the idea of communism itself is wrong. That was sort of banned. So that was the dominance, right? Because the communists, if you say anything, you will be sort of otherized and all. And what has happened?
fascist, fascist.
Fascist sort of thing, right? But now what has happened? I mean, of course, another example is, of course, Hitler and other people, probably same thing. I was not born that time, but I remember this. But what has happened? Now Hitler and those people, they are a gun, and nobody. I can't really think that Hitler as a human being is all bad. I mean, even a worse person, there is one or two good things, right? There's one friend of Hitler who wrote about it also. That but you cannot even say any those things also. I mean, and there is a lot of reason, because the kind of atrocities he has done, we don't want to humanize him. We don't want to take those values. We don't want to go for that. So that's sort of a way it went. So that's why if you go only based on this sort of assertiveness, it has its failings. Same thing happened with communism, because it has a lot of assertiveness, sending people to Gulag and Siberia and other places, labor camps. So the moment communism fell in a comprehensive way in late 1980s, Russia and other places, China, Russia is gone, and of course Eastern Europe is gone. Chinese people, they don't say they are communists. They call we are socialism with Chinese characteristics. They don't call themselves communists. Only thing I don't know. This North Korea, they have a Zuke ideology. I don't know that is communism or not. But the point I'm trying to say that largely communism is sort of gone, and now everybody wants to avoid the communist tag from themselves, right? The people who are cultural communists, they call themselves liberal. That's how they sort of evade it. So the point is that the bullies also have their end times. From a civilizational point of view, we should have a lot of discourse and reasoning, I think. That's my humble point of view. You are mute.
Yes. So the next question is not related to specific this topic, but let's take it. So I think so. Neener asks, slightly unrelated, but what is Kausik ji's opinion on Ram Mohan Roy and his controversial view on education in English and Western style learning?
I think we will need another podcast. But I'll give you two lines. I am the sort of a person who has a very in between opinion of Ramon. I think Ramon has both good and bad aspects. Bad in the sense that, I mean, for the Bengalis it's a problem. I mean, that's why I'm cancelled by both Bengalis and non-Bengalis. For Bengalis, anything against Ramon is a sin, cardinal sin, and for the now right-wing non-Bengalis, anything for Ramon is a cardinal sin. So it's a problem for me, but I'll do both the sins. So firstly, Ramon did a bad thing by sort of this sati is part of atrocity literature, and sati was very very low level problem in Bengal. Not even 10 people used to die. That in malaria, much many thousands, hundreds of more times people used to die. So he highlighted, and this is a missionary propaganda. He just aired it. That's a bad thing. But good side also, he did a lot of good things also. So he has a very good book in Farsi where he talked about the problem with the Semitic religions, Abrahamic religions, and why they are not good. And for that he was banned. He cannot come to Murshidabad. He had to relocate himself to Kolkata. That time Murshidabad was a big place, right? But he could not sort of stay there. And then of course he has. It's not true that he was a Christian. He tried to put the Hindu point of view, Upanishads and other things. He tried to give it to Hindus, to mass public, mass. He actually translated them in Bengali so that everybody could read it, and he tried to publish them. So that time it is sort of the idea that monotheism is the best thing. To stay in the league, you have to call yourself monotheist. So I mean, and then he tried to show that Hindus are also monotheists. So I mean, we might disagree with his point of view and all, but the point I'm trying to say that that's what it is. I mean, this is the, if it is wrong, then Bankim Chandra has done the same thing. For example, Bankim Chandra tried to prove that Krishna had one wife in his book Krishna Charitra. So, but of course, I don't agree with Bankim Chandra. I think Krishna had multiple wives. And that's how the ethics of our place was. But but he tried to do it because that is the Christian ethics. We have to do that. So Ramon, of course, tried to do a lot of Christian ideas and try to show it is our idea, but that's with the good intention that will sort of help our people. Yeah. But I think I'll stop here because this can go for hours and there's a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
point. But I'll tell
yeah,
you
yeah.
something. If you are a Bengali, you should read the book by Osman Mollik, Ram Mohan Porikrama. It's a very nice book.
Thank you, thank you. So we have one more very interesting question which has come. Let me just get to that. Yeah, this is important question which has come from RS. How come Arun Shourie ji appreciated Tipu Sultan as a good ruler? Didn't he knew that his good friend Sitaram Goyal ji also wrote a book on Tipu Sultan and exposed him?
It is actually, yeah. I sort of had the same question in my mind. He did not exactly appreciate, so I used his words in my tweet only. He said he's an efficient person. Now, efficient is a very nuanced thing. You can call Stalin efficient. You can call Hitler efficient. There are indeed efficient people, right, for running this war. So similarly, Tipu was probably efficient. I would agree with that. But he never mentioned the other side. So it was not a very good, I don't think that was a very good point of the Shourie's book. Of course, I am pretty sure that he is aware of Sitaram Goyalji's criticism and all. But the point is here in this book, I see a very new Shourie in a way. So I never saw, so in this book, whenever he mentioned Ambedkarji, he said Ambedkarji as a very sort of neutral or positive tone. Although in his previous book, Worshipping False Gods, he sort of said, no, Ambedkarji is sort of all bad sort of thing. Yeah, so that's what it is.
Yeah. This is also from RS. So he asked, I think Arun Shourie ji dislike towards tit-for-tat policy comes from his Gandhian mindset because his many books he praised Gandhiji heavily.
But not to this extent. Yes, it's true, but not to this extent like he praised here.
Yes, let me check if I have any other questions.
No, I think there's one guy called about this. One person talked about this on Ambedkarji something. Some question was there.
Yeah. I'm just going to that itself. And actually, I put the all question on star marks, so I'm just searching for them. Which one are there? So because there are a lot of suggestions which I take it, and so that we can take it. Yeah, here is the one. So Shourie ji also wrote "Worshipping False Gods," where he criticized Ambedkar. What is your views about him? On
He
Ambedkar,
means
I think
Ambedkar.
he's asked. Yeah, Ambedkar.
No, I have not done a lot of study on Ambedkar. I have read a few books and all, but I have
Hmm.
not a study so that I have a lot of opinion about him. That's one. Number two is, of course, in India, criticizing anybody is okay. Even Shourie ji or Savarkar ji, Gandhi ji is okay. But Ambedkar ji criticizing, there's the laws and other issues are there. So I have to be a little careful about that. But what I will say that I will just mention one point of view of the worshipping false gods. Uh, there's a general belief a lot of the times I see in school children that Ambedkar ji actually was a sort of a freedom fighter who sort of went to jail and other things, which is sort of not true. I mean, he never went that route. But I don't consider people bad just for that. In worshipping false god, again, I think he was sort of saying that this person was with the British and all. Yeah, possible, because people have a lot of you cannot have a one sort of one point agenda. That the only British is bad, everything else is good. That is, I don't think this is in Bengali. There's a word ekodeshadarshi, means very one-sided, binary sort of thinking. So this binary sort of thinking, I don't think is good. So it is possible Ambedkar ji found that his idea was uh, there are some people who are sort of socially not uplifted enough, and they have to be sort of uplifted. Um, I'm not saying whether his prescriptions are right or wrong. That's a very different thing. Who knows what is right prescription? It's not easy to be that visionary, right? But if that is the intention he had, then it is possible that he thought that fighting with the British is not the right way to go about it. But you have to sort of go round about it, and I don't see anything wrong with that. So you cannot have a sort of a binary view and all. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Thank you. So the last question we have as for today is from again RS. He mentioned might be odd, but how come Arun Shourie ji highly appreciated Buddhism while at the same time he supported Vivekananda's critique of Buddhism in his book Eminent Historians?
I don't remember that phrase. I mean, what he said,
Hmm.
how he supported Vivekananda's critique of Buddhism. But I read Eminent Historian maybe 2 decades ago or more. Last time I did, maybe more than 2 decades ago. But the point I'm trying to say that he was sort of in Eminent Historians. He say his critique that these historians, they have a theory in their mind, and whatever they wanted to say, they just say it based on the theory. But historians should not be like that. They should sort of look for evidence and counter evidence and all that of things, which is not
Uh,
true. I don't remember the context. If RS, we see, you can mention the context, I'll try to see it.
yeah. I think see this is a
But I know one
like.
thing. He does
Hmm,
some Buddhist practices. He said that.
hmm, hmm,
He said
hmm,
that. I
hmm, hmm,
mean, practices. I don't know. At least he said that he finds some salvation because right? He has a son who is suffering from cerebral palsy from the very beginning of his life, and the son, it's like I don't know, 50 or so maybe, but he can't do anything himself. He's still wheelchair ridden and all, right? So he sort of thinks that this is how he sort of goes his life questions and all. Yeah.
Yeah. So the question which actually everybody would have, I think M. Shastri has asked it finally, which I wanted to ask at the last question, is that also you wrote it is actually it's one talked about it. That do you think the book by Mr. Shourie, the new icon, okay, is there something new perspective which is available so that people go and read about it, or it's already being like a recycled thing which is already Arun Shourie has did. So what is your opinion?
So idea wise, the book may not have anything, but of course, data wise, some things are good.
Hmm.
Like he said that, so the typical thing we have about the image of Savarkarji in the Marseille port, right? So Savarkarji dives from the ship and then goes to the
Hmm. Hmm.
sea and crossed it. Um, he says, well, it is only 10 feet or so from the thing. This might be correct. I don't know about it. In fact, Savarkarji was asked in Port Blair, how long was it? We have heard that we have this Indian way of exaggeration. We have heard that you are swimming for days and nights. Well, say no, I've just come. I mean, the entire affair was 10 minutes. He just said. So by 10 minutes, Savarkar is Shourie interpreted 10 minutes of swimming. It is possible he meant 10 minutes of the entire affair. Means he's get out of the ship, swimming, going to the shore, then trying to run away to a policeman, try to make him understand, take him to magistrate, and meanwhile the British illegally seized him and come back. Right? This entire affair may be 10 minutes. It's also possible, right? So if it is 10 minutes, then it's completely reasonable, Savarkarji. But it's possible that he exaggerated. I mean, it would hurt me a lot that Savarkarji is sort of my. I really respect him a lot, and in spite of my a lot of respect for Shourie, I think Savarkar is a very different pedestal. I put him, but then still I would say it's possible that he exaggerated it. It's not impossible. So that kind of point of view you can get one or two. But it is not very revolutionary or if we but I am exposed to all the left liberal propagandas. Um, that and I also one thing. I don't think that this idea that you can somehow know a person by written record only. I don't think that is sort of very suitable. For example, our India is not a written culture at all. Most of our things they happens basically informally conversation. Right? In India, people are much sort of um, much comfortable with talking rather than writing and other things because that's how they could understand each other much better, right? In a way. So from that point of view, I mean, the idea that we will sort of radically decode a person is impossible, almost impossible. I would think that you go back to the Savarkar's time, then you will be able to see who is on his side, who is not. Um, um, so basically from if you see that entire thing, then that sort of a say way that time the eminent people that time they all respected Savarkarji, all the big revolutionaries of that time. In fact, Bhagat Singh, he wrote an anonymous poem. This thing Savarkarji did not address at all, but Bhagat Singh did write a sort of anonymous poem, and he also might have taken effort to print the Savarkar's biography of by Massini. So these things he never put it. I mean, he never discussed it at length at all. So that from that point of view, I know that left or right, all the revolutionaries of that time, they all respected Savarkar, and that is good enough for me. Achha, the other thing, Sastriji mentioned this extradition process and all. No, there is no extradition process happen because what happened? This guy, they went French policeman came. So the idea was it will go to the magistrate and then the extradition they can only appeal the British. That was the hope of Savarkar, but it never happened. The British police they illegally seized him, and they sort of said something to the French policeman. I don't know, but it was protested by France also. I heard, and then they took Savarkar and then they go into it. I think there's one writing mentioned in Mustafa Ali or someone like that. I don't remember. I think Mustafa Ali that because the First World War things were sort of hitting up, Germany and France, and France needed the help of England to survive the First World War. So that's why France did not take the matter forward. So they just sort of backed away. But otherwise, it was a violation of international law.
Yes, so we have one more question. I think little bit interesting question from Abhay Agarwal. He asked, saving Hinduism from Hindutva, is Hindutva in its current form adequate to protect the cultural consciousness of the society, especially in the liberal art sense? So what he means is that the kind of Hindutva that we today politically and in terms of political dispensation, is it good enough to actually save Hindu-ness of Bharat?
So Hindutva is, if you say an idea, maybe idea-wise, the parent form of Hindutva is sufficient. But the problem is not idea is not never sufficient. It is the execution that matters. Now, problem is all the liberal ideas. They are all propagated in the academia, media, every college, every university, every popular culture. Hindutva, we have a lot of traditional support and all. But in the new means, I mean, in this education and media, where basically people nowadays derive their idea, there we are not nowhere. So I have written a critique of the idea of majoritarianism in my book. and I've shown that from a scientific neutral point of view, it is not a good way. But this idea is taught every college, every university. And how many is really reading even my book? Forget about their things. So there's a lot of
I
drawing.
have it.
Execution is lacking. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hmm.
Um, so that is one thing. Second idea is, of course, Hindu. The idea of Hindutva is sort of, you have to, what I would think, that Hindutva is not a sort of a unique thing. It is sort of a very uh, pan world thing. But before there's a beginning of some sort of linear theories that I talked about in my book. And Christianity is the first linear theory Yuval Noah Harari wrote. So from that point of view, it is sort of a um, we should accomplish some sort of a global way to propagate our point of view. And this is what the Maria Wirth, a German lady who spent in India for last 30, 40 years perhaps, she also says that we have to dig this dharmic ideas everywhere, that we are not doing. We are just happy with something Hindutva here, but for me, Hindutva is not a sort of a very artificial thing. It should be the original human consciousness. Yeah, that sort of a thing.
Yes. So here is the book which Kausik sir is talking about. His, I think, critically acclaimed book. Actually, I have the book. Actually, I'm going to read a portion of the book in my book reading sessions, and I think after that we might invite Kausik sir again to discuss few points which we might have to discuss. And I think one more, Kausik sir, just one request to you. A lot of viewers actually want a Bangla podcast from you with regard to the one point we had mentioned regarding Bhagirath creating Ganga, which I have the book. So,
Uh-huh.
like an honest request from myself and the audience that like if you can give us some time where we can, I have the book, I have the things ready. So like sometimes we can have a podcast where we can
Sure,
discuss
sure.
the chapters that you had mentioned. Actually, it's very interesting, and I got requests from many people to actually do that stream. But unfortunately, because I have a job and other things, I cannot do this. So like maybe
We'll
sometime
find time,
after a
but
few weeks.
not in the next 15 days or 20 days.
No, no,
But
no, fine.
afterwards, please contact me after that. Sometime.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I don't think we have any more questions. I think just a very good session. I think you gave a very befitting and actually quite defensible argument that you had presented, and they all make sense in terms of. So, as a finishing point from my end, I'll just say that, as you mentioned, that you cannot understand a person like Savarkar ji from reading one of two books. I think it's very important that uh, we read Savarkar's speeches on his articles, his own writings. I think one of the best resource would be if somebody can read his Marathi writing. I think his Marathi writings are actually reflection of his ideas, more emotive than what is written in English.
That's
But
true.
we can't read it, unfortunately.
It's difficult.
But that
Huh?
is something important.
It is
But
Sanskritized Marathi, but still difficult.
hmm,
Huh?
yeah, difficult. Even we can't read it anyway because we can't speak
Hmm.
Marathi. But people
Hmm.
who speak Marathi, maybe they can do it. But
Hmm.
the idea is that any eminent personality like Savarkar ji or some other revolutionaries, they have multifaceted characters and personalities which evolve over time. Okay, and so correct. I mentioned this book where there's a different aspect of Mr. Savakji, which is actually not discussed in many books, like his doctrine on social on security of the nation in the 6 point agenda. So it's like, so right wing will do their own bidding to create an extreme form of Savarkarism in a way where they will applaud everything he has said. The left will criticize everything which Savarkar has said. But somewhere down the line, as readers, as critical thinkers, we need to read both of them and create our own opinion. That a human being will not be 100% right or 100% left. There is a space in between which everybody resides. So over to you.
Thank you. That is sort of I also agree upon, and this
Hmm.
is why I wanted to don't dismiss anyone. So, for example, it is not necessary that you could be. You need to, if you are pro Savarkar, you have to be anti Gandhi. Gandhiji is right in some of the dimensions in his own way, and Savarkarji could also be right. Yeah. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah. On this note, we will end today's podcast. So, thank you, Kosik sir. It was a really wonderful talking to you. The audience would love you to come back again and talk few things about it. But the audience really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it. I learned a lot from you. Many books that you had mentioned, I'll try to get and maybe read them in our future streams, because we read at least books in a week. So 2 weeks in a week, 2 days, I have people who would read books, just reading books, as a kind of a promotion of books itself.
I also like to thank you for having me here and having a very good engaging times. I wish you this is a very a great enterprise you are doing of reading books, something which is very much required to know about ourselves, who we are. Only if we read books, we know who we are, right? Otherwise, we don't know anything about it. And I sort of wish you very great success in enhancing your reach and be a movement. Uh, Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
look forward to it again.
Yeah, thank you. Jai Shri Ram, Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram.